If We Were a Season begins by showing the atmosphere in front of the school gate is full of students. Among the students, a male student named Seok was seen holding a camera and recording the atmosphere around him. Not long after, a female student came riding a bicycle. She seemed engrossed in pedaling her bicycle until finally, she felt that the brakes had failed just as the road was going downhill. She panicked because she couldn't stop the bike, and that's when Seok, who saw the incident, immediately ran to save her. In the end, Seok and the girl fell together. After waking up again, Seok scolds the girl to thank him because he saved her. But the girl reasoned that she was still in shock because she suddenly fell off the bicycle. Unexpectedly, Seok greeted her again by calling her name. The girl turned out to be Yoon, Seok's childhood friend. The scene then moves to a flashback to Seok and Harim's childhood. They are both neighbors and were born on the same day. Harim and Seok spend time together from babies to children because their two families have a close relationship. Harim and Seok's bedroom windows face each other, so they often talk and play together from their respective bedroom windows. But apparently, their friendship started to drift apart when they were teenagers. They haven't played together since middle school. Back in the present, Seok seems to be guiding a bicycle and passing Harim's house. Coincidentally at that time, Harim had just come out of the house. They passed each other, and again they became awkward. Finally, Harim said they had to end the unclear fight. And long story short, Harim and Seok went to school together. At that time, Harim was driving the bicycle because Seok's hand hurt after he fell with her. While riding a bicycle together, their relationship became a little closer. The next day, Seok returned with his bicycle to wait for Harim in front of the house. They went back together, but in the middle of the road, the bicycle chain suddenly broke, making them run to school. The two of them were late, and the school gates were locked. Finally, Harim tried to climb the school dividing wall by climbing on top of Seok's shoulder. When Harim had managed to climb the fence, she was stunned to see a male student hiding to smoke. Harim was so taken aback by the man's presence that she immediately jumped down from the wall without many words, causing her to fall freely to the ground. Seok, who followed Harim up the wall, rushed down to help her get up. Likewise, the mysterious man immediately approached Harim and helped her. The scene changes, and when in class that day, the homeroom teacher introduces a new transfer student from Seoul City, who is none other than the man Harim and Seok previously met. The male student was named Dong Kyung, and he sat in the same row of benches as Harim. Dong Kyung secretly watches Harim and Seok, who seem to have a close relationship. That night in his room, Seok wrote a poem about the spring kiss in his notebook. He was seen writing about dating plans, including how the kiss would be. Until the end of the article, Seok wonders who he will kiss in spring. At that moment, Harim unexpectedly entered Seok's room, which made Seok startled and hurriedly tried to hide his book. Harim's arrival that night was apparently to watch a movie and eat ramen with him. Long story short, they watched a movie together, but when the movie ended, Harim didn't like the scene where the two main characters kissed. Seok felt offended because earlier, he was thinking about kissing. He said that was the end of a relationship. Two people who love each other will hold hands and then kiss. However, Seok's explanation made Harim even more doubtful. Then Harim went home, where she met her father in the living room. She accidentally saw her father's cell phone and read a short message containing an appointment to meet on Saturday at 2 p.m. She was surprised and wondered if her father secretly had an affair. It becomes a burden for Harim. The next day at school, Harim looks so gloomy. She didn't leave her seat during the lunch break until Seok came to bring her food. Dong Kyung suddenly approached Harim's table to ask for help when she was eating. But interestingly, before Harim could answer Dong Kyung, Seok immediately stood up and asked him out of class. Later on Saturday, Harim secretly followed her father to prove if he was really having an affair. She was surprised because her father actually met a woman and they entered a house. Harim continues to follow them, and when she is about to eavesdrop on her father's conversation with the woman from outside the house, she is suddenly surprised by Dong Kyung's presence. It turns out that the woman Harim's father met is Dong Kyung's mother. They finally peek into the house together, where Harim's father and Dong Kyung's mother talk. After listening to their parents' conversation carefully, Harim and Dong Kyung realized that their father and mother were not having an affair. They only talked about business. Harim and Dong Kyung realized that they had misunderstood, and after laughing together, they ran away from the house. On the other hand, Seok accidentally sees Harim's mother, who is having a hard time carrying groceries. He finally helps Harim's mother, inviting him to cook together. While helping with cooking, Ki-suk chatted with Harim's mother. He asked a lot of things, one of which was about feelings and love. Harim's mother seems quite sensitive and realizes that he has special feelings for someone. Meanwhile, since it's getting late, Dong Kyung takes Harim home. She is again surprised to see Ki-suk cooking with her mother at home. The next day at school, Harim worries about Ki-suk's condition, who looks pale that day. When Ki-suk finally decides to go to the hospital, Harim refuses to drop him off, so he went alone. After school that day, it suddenly rained heavily. Harim, who didn't even bring an umbrella, couldn't help but wait until the rain stopped. But then suddenly, someone came from behind her and offered her an umbrella. That person is Dong Kyung. He accompanies her home because, coincidentally that day, Harim's bicycle lock could not be opened. Harim and Dong Kyung walk home together, and when they arrive in front of Harim's house, Dong Kyung unexpectedly expresses his love for her. She looks surprised and does not expect Dong Kyung's feelings. On the other hand, Dong Kyung thinks Harim already knows that he has special feelings for her. At that time, he asked Harim to be his girlfriend, but she refused the request. Days change again, and the next day, Harim and Dong Kyung's relationship becomes awkward at school. Dong Kyung's attitude looks awkward to Harim after she rejects his declaration of love last night. Long story short, Harim goes to the field to watch football during lunch break. Ki-suk, who watches Harim, thinks she is watching a soccer game because Dong Kyung is one of the players. For that, Ki-suk joins the opposing team so that he can play ball against Dong Kyung. But after playing for some time, Ki-suk fell unconscious in the middle of the field. It turns out that Ki-suk's condition is not completely healthy, but he insists on playing soccer because Harim is watching. Sometime later, when Ki-suk woke up from fainting, he was already in the school clinic room. Beside his bed, there is Harim, who apparently keeps Ki-suk company when he faints. But instead of treating him with affection, Harim scolded Ki-suk for forcing himself to play when his fever was still very high. Time passed, and the scene changed, showing Harim's family celebrating Harim's mother's birthday. But when she saw her father's gift to her mother, Harim again suspected that her father was actually having an affair. A few days later, Harim followed her father again. Like before, this time, she saw her father meet a woman. He gave the woman the same gift as the present for Harim's mother's birthday yesterday. Harim was stunned to see this, and her father found out she had been following him all along. But when she asked her father to explain what really happened, he couldn't say anything. This made Harim feel very sad and devastated. Even though that night, she had actually made an appointment with Ki-suk and planned to express the feelings she had for her best friend. Unfortunately, Harim's suspicions about her father's infidelity made her feel too sad and decided not to see Ki-suk. On the other hand, Ki-suk waited for Harim to arrive until midnight. The next day when going to school, Harim no longer waits for Ki-suk to ride a bicycle together. She instead brought her own bicycle and left him. Harim's attitude that morning made Ki-suk even more annoyed that he immediately confronted her. They had time to argue about friendship while covering each other's feelings. The incident that morning, unfortunately, ended their friendship. In the following days, Harim and Ki-suk did not greet each other. They go to school independently without waiting for each other to arrive. Finally, one night, Harim heard someone knocking on her bedroom window. She opened the window and saw Ki-suk standing in front of her. He apparently intends to return Harim's belongings that were left in his room. In addition, he said that from now on, he would stay away from her. The scene changes, and the seasons have changed. Harim is seen getting ready to move to Seoul. But while waiting for the train at the station, she saw Ki-suk walking from a distance. He came to her and again said his intention to forget her from his heart and mind. Ki-suk ignores Harim, crying, saying he has always avoided her in class. The series If We Were a Season ends by showing the train bound for Seoul arriving at the station and Ki-suk grabbing Harim into his arms. At that time, he whispered goodbye as a final farewell to his best friend. The moral that can be learned from this movie is that harboring love is indeed very difficult and heavy, especially if you fall in love with a close friend. Sometimes we should give up feelings of love that are not reciprocated and become real.